Okay, I'd like to take a look at something that I found very interesting on an island in the Indian Ocean as I was looking on Google Earth. And I came across these two formations that you see right here. I'll zoom out just a little bit. You can get a little bit better view of it. And I saw these two formations of a circle here and a circle here. The more I looked at it, the more it looked man-made to me. I had one person suggest that these were tidal basins. I looked all over this island, all over other islands in this area. There are tidal basins all over them, and none of them are shaped circular like this. Most of them are irregular and elongated. So none of them are in a circular shape such as this. And when I found these, I got to look in. The longer I looked, the more I could see like a ditch around the outside right here, and then another ditch on the inside here. And on this one, I'll call circle 1, I can see a causeway that goes out in this direction. Zoom in a little bit more, you can see a little bit more definition to the inner ditch. I don't know what all is here. I don't know if there are any standing stones. I don't know if there is anything here that you can actually walk up and see. These are very large. This one is a little over 1,800 feet in diameter. Circle 2 is somewhere between 1,750 and 1,800 feet in diameter. I believe this one also has an inner ring in the form of a ditch. I really don't know what the use of these would have been, but the more I look at them, the more it looks to me that they are man-made, that they are not tidal basins, they're not natural occurrences. The only thing that I've seen that even leaves a circular, very circular pattern like this would be some type of impact crater, and these don't appear to be impact craters either. And it would be very odd to have two just right here together like this and not anything else on the island or the other islands. I've searched over the islands in the other areas here, and I don't find anything that looks similar to this. The first thing I'm going to drop in, this is just an artist depiction. This is actually Stonehenge here. These are two other circles that were depicted in this drawing. And again, this one, I don't see a causeway, but these two circles in this orientation, I just overlaid them on here and lined it up where it fit. When you take that off, it's possible that there's some kind of causeway here, but it's not nearly as distinct as what we see here. It's too straight, too rectangular to be just a natural occurrence the way I see it. I'll back out here a little bit. We'll take another look, and this is actually just a screen capture of Stonehenge, and I was very careful not to reorient this one. I just took a screen capture oriented to north, as well. You can't see it on this screen here, but the Google Earth is oriented to north on that. It was oriented to north when I took the screen capture, and you can see it's fairly transparent, but as you can see, this is the causeway on the screen capture of Stonehenge, and underneath you can see the causeway of this circle. Now this one lines up a little bit more towards the north than than this one does, but they're pretty similar. But you have to remember that they're 5,000 miles apart, and they're very different parts of the world. So what they're lined up to, I really don't know. And then this is Gothic Circle in Germany. And you can see I've actually turned this one and oriented it so that the causeway's lined up. This has the inner palisades of wooden poles, and the center of this one is, larger than the center of the one that's here on the island. But these again are much, much larger than what we see most of the Henges in England and in other places. This next one is a double hinge, a double circle, and it is Tara Hill in Ireland. And when you drop them in there, you can see they're in very much the same orientation as what we had already here. The only thing I did was size these so that they would be approximately the same size as what we have here on the ground, but very similar orientation. And then we have Avebury Henge in England, and inside of Avebury, the actual outside of Avebury is about the same size as one of these, but the inside has two smaller circles, very hard to see now on something like Google Earth, but it's been mapped out, and there's two circles there that are oriented very much the way that these are oriented. Again, this is just a map of Avebury, and these are the stones that were there, but in a very, very similar orientation to what we see here. Again, the outer rim of Avebury is about the same size as one of these, somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,750 to 1,800 feet. When you drop in Tara Hill here, you see that this is something that wasn't totally unusual. They did this in different places at different times for whatever purpose it was that they did these double circles in this orientation, but it's certainly not unprecedented. Now, the age of these, there's no way of knowing. We know that the ocean level, the sea level, has been up higher and probably even completely over this island. At one time, you can see kind of from an erosion line here that the sea level was somewhere up about here on the island for probably a considerable amount of time. You can tell that water has washed up on here and gone back from the lagoon. The lagoon, I'm sure, has overflowed at different times, and you've got these erosion patterns of the water washing back out. But you also have to remember that somewhere in the neighborhood of 14,000 to 15,000 years ago, during the Ice Age, the sea level would have been somewhere around 350 to 400 feet lower than it is now. So this would have actually been a pretty good size hill, a pretty good size mountain sticking out of the ocean water. I really don't know what the depth is of the seabed around this, but during the Ice Age, there were significant amounts of land in some of these areas that were very habitable and probably had people living on them. I think there were some things taking place on this island in the very distant past, and it's just very odd to find these two hinges, circles, whatever you want to call them, to find them showing up here on this island 5,000 miles away from the other hinges and other things that were taking place in other parts of the world. So I thank you for taking the time to watch.